And we're live.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Vaginas. I'm Poontang Joe. I'm here with Piss Flaps Nate and Axe Wound Tyler. What's up, guys? In case you're wondering what that's about, you'd have to watch yesterday's episode of Capes and Commentary. There's a lot of pussy talk.
That's I don't even know what to say to that.
What the hell did you call me, Axel Rod
I
Tyler?
called you Axe Wound Tyler, and he's Piss Flaps Nate, and I'm Poontang. So all just vernacular for
That has to make sense or be like there's no axing on the previous podcast. What you have to explain this as you put the bottle of water.
That's what I said. That's why I let everybody know. I said, well, in case they're wondering what I'm talking about, they'd have to watch Capes and Commentary.
I was on the podcast.
Let me finish. There was a lot of sandy vagina talk. So
there was no axe wound. Oh, yeah, I get it. That's what you're saying.
Axe wound. So, yeah, you're the axe wound. He's Piss Flaps, and I'm Poontang. So there you go. I got something.
Okay. Well,
I'm just hoping
that doesn't make any only because you're just trying to. Okay, so I'd never heard of a vagina / pussy referred to in any of those terms.
Oh, you never heard that? Well, I got a lot of insane vernacular I've heard throughout the years, so I had to use them. I assumed you might have, but yeah, that's now that you.
I think that's your key to it. Joe will just come out and just say the most outlandish stuff and just assume he's told you, knowing full well he's never told you, which gives him a loophole to say, "Oh, you haven't." Well, let me explain. Let me tell you this story.
We'll let to see how in the chat room how many people have, what kind of slang they have for some.
People forget that.
Well, the one thing that I'm hoping is that it did catch the beginning of that, because I was worried. And I had the other window up, and it looked like when I did the "and we're live" thing, I didn't even see that. It just cut to you. So I'm hoping that it caught most of that.
If not, they're gonna be wondering what the hell's going on. Like, why did he call Nathan Piss Flaps, and why is he calling Tyler Axe Wound? What the hell's happening? But yeah, that's it. I was cracking up because I was like, damn. Tyler got on that sandy vagina kick, and he did it again. And then he said something else about a vagina, the head. Even Nathan was like, what kind of vagina? He was like, there's a lot of vagina talk going on. What was the other slang he did, Nathan? Can you remember?
Dude, I can't remember because I watched the Death Wish remake last night with Bruce Willis, the Eli Roth directed Death Wish. And holy shit! What a generic. And you're thinking, like, you look at Eli Roth's body of work, and it's like, here's Cabin Fever and Hostel. And he likes his gore, and
yeah,
it had its moments. But if there were to ever be a movie that Eli Roth could be Eli Roth, it would be Death Wish. When you think about the first film and it's all of its sequels, like just that grit and like the nastiness, and it's just really fucking generic. And it ended, and I'm like, what a waste of time. Like, why do they... And Bruce Willis was just...
phoning it in?
Yeah. He was just sitting there like... His emotion was just terrible.
Non-existent. It looks like he had no emotion.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, you got to give him something. And I know that he's an asshole to work with, but, man, like... He's done nothing but direct-to-DVD shit lately, and you would think that with this coming out in theaters, because it had a wide release, that he would at least put in the effort, but no. So it was generic, and I forgot everything.
I loved all the original Death Wish movies. You love vengeance. I always love seeing somebody get revenge, and Charles Bronson, all those movies, damn it. Like, I think we mentioned it. I can't remember what week. I thought we said some reference of them, but yeah, I love when somebody is getting that revenge, and believe it or not, I just seen Death Wish yesterday, too. That was the first time I watched it too. I just want the revenge. I didn't really. You're right. The acting was kind of wasn't there, and you're right. Some of the deaths, it looks like they were definitely trying to over the top gore. Which sure, it could be cool, but yeah, it just seemed like they were trying a little too much. I enjoyed just Charles Bronson's way of getting his revenge just a little bit more. I don't know if you're saying I'm partial and biased because I grew up with them, but yeah, I enjoyed the original.
Death Wish. But those films, that film, especially the first one. It still resonates with fans today because, of the quality of the film. I argue that people love to bash or condemn people of our generation or our age group, whatever you want to refer to it as, that were only just stuck on films of the 80s and the 70s and into the 90s to a certain extent, as if like, well, we don't want things to change. I'm like, well, we're still watching it. If they weren't, these films weren't any good, I don't think we would be embraced. Like Nathan wouldn't be wearing a John Carpenter's The Thing if the special effects, the story, and the acting and the direction didn't hold up. I don't think Nathan would be wearing that strictly out of just nostalgia. I wouldn't be wearing, or decorating my apartment with films that I'm like, just for nostalgia. Like, no, they're great. They're great films, and they just can't come up with anything different. And it's a shame that, the Death Wish thing, I think it still could work. But obviously, Bruce Willis just doesn't seem to care enough in his body of work. And honestly, we like to consider Bruce as like being one of the tentpole action heroes, but really, I mean, I outside the Die Hard films, and that's
the only reason he sort of sneaks in there. Yeah, honestly,
I mean, I like Last Boy Scout. I never saw Striking Distance, and then other than that, he's got The Jackal was all right, but I hated the rest of the film because Richard Gere sucks. But other than that, you kind of really feel like, what? It's just a shame that an idea of a Death Wish film, a remake, I could get behind that. But I almost feel like, Eli Roth, I just don't think he was, and I haven't seen it, and I'm not going to go see it. I just didn't think it was a good idea. It looked lazy. It looked cheap. It just didn't look like something that you could get excited and get behind.
Yeah.
Regardless of the pedigree that's behind it,
Well, welcome to episode 37, by the way. I don't think Joe established that.
Yeah, welcome to episode.
Yeah, Joe was basically like, I got to get my vagina remarks in. Also, Tyler had
that's why he was so eager to. He's like, I'll do the intro this week.
Of course he was. He had to get his vagina monologue in.
He's got a million of them, guys. Well, anyways, hey, we got to say hello to JSP and Grimbot. They're in the chat room, so thank you for joining us. And definitely, it's not like we're sitting here, like you said, just looking in the past, thinking they can't do a good remake or retelling of anything. I mean, hell, you'd think as much as we love Karate Kid that when Cobra Kai came out, that if it wasn't good, we would say, oh, it's horrible, and they should have stuck with the originals. But hell, they got something right there, so that's what I mean. You could do something.
They're more than capable of producing good remakes if they want to. But
but everybody tries to conform to make something that's safe and sensible and light, and you know what is not. Everyone's too afraid to get a little hard edged in their films, and I'm not saying they have to be hardcore R. No, you can. I mean, hell, there's been a lot of great PG-13 films. Hell, there's a lot of good PG and rated G films too. But even children's films of the day had a little hard edge to them. And I don't go back and rewatch this film by any means, but hell, at least The Lion King had death in it.
Yeah.
It's like today, and I don't watch current Disney stuff, but I just feel like, that you can add a little bit of, emotion to your films. It doesn't have to be, let's just play it safe, add a lot of humor, ridiculous, silly special effects that no one would believe, that Ray Charles could see through. And just release it, and
You should have said Stevie Wonder, not Ray Charles. Ray Charles is dead.
I know that, but what difference does it make? I couldn't want to say Helen Keller. Why?
True.
For your benefit, I will throw out Stevie Wonder just so Nathan feels better about it.
Wow.
I was gonna say first, this episode it was kind of like up in the air what to do because Nathan was kind of going back and forth.
Yeah. Let's talk.
He was like,
let's talk about that.
I don't know, man.
Let's talk about this for a second because they're like, hey, you choose the topic next week. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I was like, well, how about this? And Joe's like, yeah, okay. And then I started thinking, I'm like, because originally we were going to do the Escape films, Escape from New York and Escape from LA. And I was like,
didn't you mention The Thing too?
Well, it was between The Thing or those two films. And then I was like, well, why not just broaden that and we'll just sort of like bounce around with John Carpenter's body of work. And I'm sending this to Joe, and I'm like, well, what would be better? What do you think they would like to listen to and enjoy more? And he was like, yeah, okay. I'm like, what? That's not an answer.
They did it on purpose.
I know.
Yeah, he told me he did that on purpose, too.
Yeah, because Nathan was, he was first like, hey, would you want to do The Thing, or would you want to do, Escape from New York or Escape from LA? Does that sound good? I was like, yeah, sounds good to me. And then a little bit later, I can't remember if this next day when it was, he got back, he was like, well, all right, well, what if we just, what if we did it just about John Carpenter and his body work in his films or something like this? And then he said, or the Escape films. I was like, yes. He's like, what? I was just like, I was like, just make the decision because I figured I already said Escape from New York, L.A. or The Thing. That sounds good. And then he said John Carpenter. I was like, I got to mess with him now because either way, it's like, yeah, that was fine. But he was like, what? Like, what the hell is he talking about? But yeah, I did that on purpose just to drive you nuts. But no, so it came down to yes, we're going to talk about John Carpenter and his films. And before we get into those, we'll talk about something kind of recent because
Mhm.
everybody knows I'm usually not somebody that watches trailers.
Wait, wait. Are you saying that you watched this?
Let me get to something. Let me get to something. I'll build this up. I don't watch trailers. And of course, we all know that this past Friday, the big Halloween trailer, it dropped. And of course, my nephew's telling me about a lot of other people. And I was like, sounds good. I was like, no, but I can't watch it. But then Tyler asked me about it too. He's like, well, Joe, we're probably going to discuss this on, Beyond Retro. You got to at least see it. I was like, I just don't want to. I said, because if it's going to ruin something for me, I don't want to see this. And I'll take Tyler from his word. We give each other shit back and forth, as you know. But Tyler said, Joe, it
No.
honestly is not going to ruin nothing. He says, I promise you. He's like, this won't ruin it. I was like, all right. I said, well, I'm going to go against what I normally do. I said, but for the sake of the show, I'll watch it. I said, but when they do any other trailers with additional stuff, I said, no more. He's like, no. He says, I can understand that. So I watched that trailer for that Halloween. And yes, it does look damn good. And I got really giddy. Even Tyler said, Joe, I want you to play it, so I can hear you listening to it, just to, get your reaction from it. But it was good. And Tyler was right. It didn't spoil anything. It didn't wreck anything that I was thinking it would. So, but it looks very good. So I did see it.
Are there any reservations that you have coming from that trailer? Is there anything you saw that was like, I don't know about this?
Not really, because I like the little spin. Because quick spoiler in case people haven't seen it and don't want to hear it, you might want to plug your ears. But
no one's like Joe Amato. If they're gonna watch the trailer, they.
Well, you never know. That's why I'll just say just in case. But because I wondered, well, what the hell are they going to do if they said originally that this is just going to be following directly after part one, the original one? Does that mean they're going to ignore part two and the whole thing about him being, related to, Lori and the connection of brother and sister? Is that going to be ignored? And if so, what are they going to do to expand on that? Well, sure enough, you heard, like, as the kids were walking, like, oh, I thought they were, like, related. So, like, no, that was just a rumor. So they're not going to be related. But you did see that Michael is, like, he's in the institution. He's been there all these years. There's these people that are going to do this kind of, like, documentary / interview with him, or at least, doing something from what the preview showed. And the guy brings a mask. And either way, something must set Michael off. So you could picture that it's festering. What I like is, okay, this is the thing. We have the original Halloween 2, the sequel to that. And then there's this one that is like a different take. In a way, if you want, you can have two different ways you could enjoy Halloween, meaning Halloween and the original part 2 is being the direct sequel, or this different little spin, which I can enjoy and I can respect. Of like a possible lunatic that after he got shot and knocked off that ledge by, Loomis, you figure, I'm assuming, then he gets arrested and has been in this like prison institution for 40 years and just festering. And these people come in and do something that sets him off to escape to where he's got to kill the last fucking person he didn't get, the one that he was obsessed about in the first Halloween. You could see somebody being driven mad at him. He's already like insane. So I like the spin. I don't know exactly how it's all going to be told, but I'm looking forward to it. I don't put it down saying, "Oh, this is shit. It's garbage." They're disrespecting the original franchise or the original one. I'm not doing that.
Yeah, when it comes to that, it's like, how do you really disrespect it? It's already been disrespected enough, with all like.
Yes.
Yeah. Tyler, let's go ahead and get your thoughts on this because I know you're the one that out of the three of us kind of had the most reservation about it. Like,
yeah, I did. I did. Like, I don't care who's coming back. I don't care who's producing it. I don't care who's doing the music. I mean, the Halloween franchise has been beaten to death. It's been raped. It's been mowed over and chopped up. There's just nothing left. There's nothing else you can do. And I was very surprised. Like it wasn't something I was excited for, but the trailer dropped. I'm like, all right, let's check this out. And I was surprised. Like I watched it 3 times throughout the day and was just thinking about it, while I was at work. And Nathan texted me about it. And I said, I was surprised. It looked quite good. And, it's Nick Castle back as Michael. He's got what the frame of Michael Myers. Like it's past part 2, they can never get like a right body or stuntman to portray Michael. They never get the mask right. So everything like Michael's mask looks like it's just been old and deteriorated. It doesn't look like we're trying to make it cool and gritty and cutting edge here. It just looks like this has been pulled out of the evidence, 40 years later. I told Joe specifically, it's like I really liked the sequence where he comes in the bathroom and drops the teeth, which I can only assume is the teeth of the documentarian, the two English documentarians, because he goes in the bathroom and goes after the Emily and Blunt lookalike and drops the teeth. I'm like, you know what? That's a cool way of teasing, because in the first Halloween we clearly see Michael tease, at least for the audience, from the audience standpoint, teases his victims. Like he's just kind of reminding or letting the audience know, or even teases his victims at times too. Like with Lori, setting the bodies up in the house, putting the tombstone, just for her to go in, freak out, lose her shit, and then he's going to kill her. So it's just, I liked going back to that, teasing your victims before you inevitably kill them. And I thought the teeth dropping, like that's something we haven't seen. It's not overly ridiculous and just grotesque just for the sake of shock value. It's scaring the hell out of this poor girl that's stuck in the bathroom before he clearly kills her, as you see in the trailer. And it doesn't look like it spoils anything. I think Jamie Lee looks really good in her, badass grandma phase as Laurie Strode. It looks like they're giving her something that she can really take serious and get behind. It doesn't look like, oh, it's Jamie Lee, she's back and she's pissed off this time, guy.
I'm glad that they went that direction with her, because you think about how she was in H2O, like just really nervous and scared. In this one, she's just like, I want him to come back. I want to kill him. I want to end this. So it's a fresh approach. I guess my only reservation from watching the trailer, and I read an interview with what's the director, David Gordon Green, and then Danny McBride, and they said, and I kind of noticed this in the trailer and texted Tyler about it, is I do kind of worry that there will be some retreading throughout the film that sort of sprinkles the elements of things that sort of happened in the sequels, if that makes any sense. Like there are certain things where it's like, oh, where he's in the closet, and other things in the trailer. I was just like, I hope that it's not like, hey, let's pick out parts that happened in the sequels and kind of like redo those and slap them in this film. That I don't know.
I mean, I'd like to think, then again, too, Carpenter has clearly stated that he doesn't really care what they do to Halloween because he loves getting those checks, loves getting paid for something he did back in the 70s.
I mean, I don't blame him.
I don't blame him either. And even though he's executive producer, he's going to be doing the score and stuff, I'd like to think that having him agree to be a part of this and not just someone who's collecting residual checks, that he's there, he's giving his thoughts and perceptions, and that they're going to him and asking, what would you do? Like, we know you're not directing, but we've got this idea. How should we execute? I'd like to think that they're using something that hasn't really been used in a long time. Now, granted, John Carpenter's done like The Ward and a couple of small projects, but nothing, really big and epic that we've come to know and expect and appreciate from John Carpenter. So I'd like to think that they're taking advantage of having him on set, or just being a consultant on it, and not just, if we slap his name on there, even the hardcore fans will come out because, well, his name is in the credits and he's got to have something part of this, just like you guys like to do the whole bait and switch, just slap his name on there, and that it's clearly got the credit and the recognition to get us pissed off fanboys. Oh, I ain't doing it anymore because this and that, and oh, John Carpenter's doing it. Oh, I'll be there. And I'm like, it's not enough. I'd like to know that he's going to be that his presence is represented on screen. That we're not just seeing something that Danny McBride, has got his fingers all over. I mean, just when they said, I'm like, that doesn't make me feel much better when you sit there and say that Danny McBride is having a big part of putting this movie together. I'm like, why the hell would I want to go see a Halloween movie where Danny McBride is a producer?
Oh, I want to say him and David Gordon Green. I think that's his name. I need to look it up again. I want to say that both of them wrote the screenplay. I might be wrong on that.
But why should I take comfort of that? However, that's why the trailer does look good. But hell, when it was announced the Rob Zombie Halloween was coming out, me and Nathan both were like, I'm sold. We'll be there opening day. And we were, and we came out. I was like, you know what? Give me Rob Zombie, lock me in a room with him, and I'm not coming out till I've beaten him to a pulp. So this could happen all over again. However, I told Joe, I said, they've got my money. I'll go see it when it comes out, opening day. I'm curious, but I'm also, I'm going to be reserved as well when I walk in that theater, because I could walk out thinking, God, man, there's just nothing. They cannot get it right. There's just nothing outside of Halloween Part 2. There's just nothing they can do to bring back the magic of this once in a lifetime, lightning in a bottle, low budget horror film that it's, set the trend of what we come to know and appreciate in horror films that just cannot seem to be duplicated, or, it's something as simple as that. They just can't seem to do anything right after it.
I want it to be good. I hope it will be good, because like Joe was saying, it would be an interesting way of like watching the original and then watching that, or watching the original and watching the first sequel to it, So hopefully it turns out well. I hope it doesn't suck.
I don't want to suck either. I don't want to walk out of the theater and be angry. I want to converse with Joe and Nathan, like, oh wow, that was a really interesting take, or like, you want to go see it again next weekend? Like, I want to go. I want to have a movie that I can be excited for and want to go back and see it multiple times. That has me thinking afterwards. And then when you go back and watch the first, you're like, oh, okay, I like how they tied that in there, or something like that. I don't want this to be something where I'm just like, God Almighty, man, it's just getting to where I'm going to have to pull a Nathan and say, I ain't going to the movies anymore. I don't want to do that. I want to be excited. I don't want Meg and Halloween to just be giant disappointments because it's a good idea. However, they just felt like, let's just use the name and just make it silly and nothing you get behind. I mean, I told Nathan, I said, and I didn't know her name. He had to tell me Judy Greer's in it. Is Laurie Strode's daughter. I'm like, oh God. Anytime I see her in anything, I'm thinking, oh man, they've gone the cheap route because she can't act. I find her annoying and I can't stand looking at her. And when I see her in this movie, I'm like, oh my God, they're probably going to give her a lot of unnecessary screen time because it's Judy Greer and she did phone commercials and she was in Jurassic World and she sucked and all of that. And it just says cheap.
I can't imagine she'd have that much dialogue.
I don't want her to, but
I think it's going to focus more on Lori and then like her granddaughter more than anything else. Because it's like her and her friends and all that stuff. I don't know. At least it's coming out in October and not in
mid-August or September. And unlike that god awful looking Predator film that they just dropped the recent trailer, that looks like shit.
I wanted to ask you about that because I watched that yesterday too, and I was like, oh God, a second Predator. Oh God, it's CG. What the fuck is going on? Sorry, Joe.
Oh, that's okay.
I kind of spoiled it for you,
dude. I think by this point, I don't think I'll go see it. I'm just, I don't. It looks too much like another Alien versus Predator. Seeing Predators at another high school in a town, son of a bitch, man. When they're using weapons that were used in Alien versus Predator, I'm like, oh God, man. And the Predators look like really cheap looking synthetic bodysuits as opposed to something that looks like it was created by Stan Winston Studios. And hell, and maybe I've not done any like behind the scenes research. I just will see pictures that pop up and that's it. Because I'm so like worried that this was not going to be good to begin with. I didn't care about Shane Black being a director. I'm like, just because he directed movies that people thought were pretty good doesn't mean that he's going to come in here and bring the spirit and edginess of 1 and 2 into this film. And another trailer where you got a very generic looking character actors and Predators that just look like they like to flop their hair around and move around like the bad stuntmen in Predators did, where do you guys even care or know how guys in bodysuits work? I mean, Kevin Peter Hall wasn't just some tall guy they put in a suit. The guy was an actor. He knew how to act within a suit. And it's just like the shots they show you the Predators. There's just them, yeah, I'm a badass. Yeah, I'm Predator. And let's make sure we throw lots of jokes in. Oh, man, he fought an alien. Man, get out of here. Oh, man, a lot of hijinks will ensue. Will they believe there's a Predator? You better find it this September. It just looks like shit, man.
Yeah, because that second trailer is only like a minute long, and I watched it and I was like, ooh.
And it's worse than the first trailer. Sorry, ooh. Joe.
Sorry. I apologize too that we kind of spoiled.
Well, look, if it was good, then it'd be one thing. But this is not looking good. This is not help Predator fans, and sure as hell doesn't help me to think that Predators can still be carried on and we could get another kick-ass Predator film since 1990 when Predator 2 came out. No, they still can't get it right. It looks like a TV movie. That's what this looks like.
Yeah, it looks like it's still just in that same universe as, like you were saying, the Alien versus Predator films. Yeah, like it's not doing anything to like, yeah, you know what, those are bad. We're over here doing our own thing and reinvigorating it. Now it's like just falling in line with the rest of it. So.
Yeah, when they clearly make a point to show you that spinning blade boomerang that was used in the Alien vs. Predator films, like they make a point to show you that. They're not showing you the boomerang disc that the Predator holds like this and throws, or the telescoping staff, or any of the traditional weapons that the Predator used in 1 and 2. No. Then it just looks bad. It looks really, really bad when you've got this group of very generic looking, a team of so-called heroes, when they just look like there's nothing imposing about these guys. Hell, at least when people love to bitch about Danny Glover being the hero in Predator 2, Danny Glover brings the intensity to make up for the fact that he's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but the guy looks like somebody. No, who the hell would want to mess with Lieutenant Mike Harrigan in Predator 2? The guy's a badass, and it's not like he goes toe-to-toe punching the Predator fist to fisticuffs. No, but he's still an intense presence on screen. And all these Predator sequels, they've got just the most generic, uninspired, and just severely lacking badass attitudes. And this movie, it's just, you know what? No, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see this film.
So we're going to go opening weekend, right?
No. No, I'm not going to be. I'm tired of being angry at films. I just would rather everyone else go and take the bullet and be disappointed, or because you don't have much experience in watching the films, you're like, oh man, that was so much better than that old film from like 1987, man. I mean, it's just like these guys really have it because they were like funny and stuff, and like when they reference wieners and shit. Oh man, it was they don't do that in like those old movies from like the 80s, man.
I love it. I love the Tyler rants. He's so angry.
Can we talk about better films now?
Sure. What? I mean, Avengers: Infinity War, man. That one was pretty good, right? People seem to. All right, Joe. You got anything to add over here? You've been.
Observing. No. It was just letting you guys go. As for when you were talking about Halloween, see, I don't again have the memory that you two have, and I just I like this. I just like the thought and concept behind this other spin, like I said earlier, and just like you said, Nathan, about a different option to how you'd want to view the world of Halloween, meaning the original Halloween with the 2 and even the others after that, or Halloween and this Halloween. I don't know if that's been done with any other movies ever. Has there ever been something where there was a first one and then a sequel, and then 20 years, 10 years, or however many years later, they said,
Tron.
Okay, here's the... Oh, they did options like that too? Because I didn't watch it.
Well, no, I'm just saying that Tron Legacy is a sequel. It's a sequel that takes place.
Well, he's saying like
is an option of a sequel to something that's had
a
sequel. You could probably
like Predators when they made the sequel Predators, they were trying. It felt like they were trying to link that up with the first film because that's the only film they reference is the first film.
Okay, I mean, did they definitively? I understand what you mean, but did they ever definitively say this is a version or a direct sequel to the original Predator? Was it said? I mean, if you know what I mean, because I understand what you're saying. It's just
I don't know. People are so like, what's the term? They're so ambiguous about in terms of like trying to sell it to the public, where they just like when Ridley Scott was making those pieces of shit, Prometheus films. It's just like nobody knew what to call them when clearly they're supposed to be prequels to Alien, but they're saying, but they're not. They just take place in the same world.
But then it is.
But then it is. It's just like they don't know what to call it, which doesn't help their cause.
Because at least with this Halloween, they are saying no. This is supposed to be a direct sequel to the original. So I just didn't know if it's been done before. I just wanted to commend them for that.
I'm sure it has, but I just don't think it's been.
Well, I guess you could. You could say in a way, like New Nightmare is sort of with Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Like,
Well, that was different. That was a New Nightmare was trying to say this is reality, that Freddy Krueger has entered reality. That was just a
yeah,
weird
yeah, that's
spin
true.
on
That's
Yeah,
yeah,
true.
I
but
wouldn't say that was really a direct sequel to a
no, that
certain
was
degree. It's just
Yeah,
like it's its own. It's almost like a Twilight Zone Nightmare on Elm Street
it
episode, I
was
yeah,
just
guess you
yeah,
kind
it
of
was
say.
just
yeah.
something on its own. Yeah, definitely on its own. But well, hell, we're here for some John Carpenter films, so we could just discuss some of his great films. I mean, he's had plenty of them, but I mean, one of mine we talked about it before. I can't help but always say They Live. Damn, do I love They Live. I mean, you know what sucks is wrestlers. They don't usually get the praise as for being really good actors. You know, I mean, a lot of times Hulk Hogan always got picked on for the movies he did. Oh, it's just he's not a good actor. Oh, he's just a wrestler. Well, I can say without a doubt, Piper though, damn, did he do some good acting. I at no point watching that movie thought, oh man, this acting sucks from this guy. Oh, he's just like a corny wrestler. He's not delivering the lines. He just looked like he was a damn good drifter that just, you know, he just fell into the wrong place at the wrong time into this whole plot of shit that goes on and trying to have people believe what's going on. You know, with the guy that he's trying to show with the glasses, they still have, in my opinion, one of the most realistic fights in a movie because while doing jump kicks and flips and spins and all this crazy shit looks amazing on movies, it's not really reality. But when I watched him have that alley fight, that looked like something that I've seen where I've grown up and probably experienced growing up. We fight like that. You're going to be banging people, slamming them, hitting them into the wall, the concrete, the nuts. I love that fight. I can't say it enough, and I think it gets overlooked. Not just the movie, but even that fight. I don't hear many people talk about. Damn, that was one crazy ass fight, but I just what a great ass movie. So They Live is just one I wanted to start off with that I liked, and I think you both love it as well. I think.
Yeah, no, I think it's fantastic, and Piper, for him to not have been in really anything else, for him to just go into that and how it turned out, you know, because you're right when wrestlers try to make that transition into acting, and you've seen it before with Hogan and The Rock when he first started. Now it's starting to get better for him, and you know, it is. You can't deny it, Tyler. He has gotten better
He's
since.
still doing the same thing though.
Well, it
Like
doesn't matter that he's doing the same thing. He's
what
getting better as an actor, is what I'm saying. Like the way he emotes and whatever. Anyway, uh, but Piper like nailed it. Like you could see it in his promos that like that passion, and for that to see that on the screen, like I think even John Carpenter said plenty of times that he was almost sort of just blown away by it. And I think that's why
Did he? I didn't know.
he picked him for the role because he's like I'm assuming like he watched his promos like, man, like this guy's got some fire to him. Let's see what else he can do, and it worked. And you're right about the fight, but I do think that it between that and you know the quote of "I'm all out of bubblegum," those are the two things I think that most people take away from that film. I wouldn't say that the fight is overlooked at all because you know it's been parodied quite a few times, and that seems to be one of the things that people remember. But you know, if they were to do that now, it would just be like quick cuts and it'd be like zoomed in. You couldn't see what was going. I like how it just he let it breathe. Like it's out. You can see it. You can feel it, and yeah, it's a fantastic film.
Yes.
I usually revisit it at least once a year, every couple of years, because I'm, you know, I do that with all of John Carpenter's films that I own. And we'll probably get into talking about a couple of his shitty ones, which is mainly towards like the end of his career. Really,
Those might have been some I never seen, so I look forward to
I
hearing
mean,
what you have to
there's a
say.
few that I think some people probably lump in, you know, even before like the end of his career, like you know, like something like, and I've never seen it just because I was intrigued as a kid, but just never like Memoirs of the Invisible Man with Chevy Chase and Daryl Hannah.
yeah.
You know, that's one of those films that
That was his movie?
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was him.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I've seen it and I never knew that. Okay.
Yeah, and I remember as a kid wanting to see it because I remember seeing the commercials for it on TV and stuff. But that's a film that just, you know, I would be interested to see it, to see Chevy Chase in a, you know, what's considered. I mean, a take on the Invisible Man story. I'm sure there's some humor in it, but it also looked like it was a bit of more of an action-oriented film and not necessarily a slapstick comedy vehicle for Chevy Chase. So I would be curious to see it. You know, maybe I ought to do it like a YouTube search and someone's like uploaded it up, since it's a forgotten movie and something that clearly studio like Universal. I think it's a Universal film. Hell, I can't remember, but not a film that someone would probably be searching the internet looking to see. Oh, someone's uploaded that forgotten John Carpenter film. Take it down and have that man over there that uploaded it, have him castrated in front of his wife and children. You know, but I mean, they live. I mean, honestly, to me, that film is heavily merchandised now. Like it's hard to go anywhere where you're not seeing someone with a T-shirt and some form of fashion, you know, saying "obey" with the alien motif, or parroting the current president or whatever it is with saying "obey" or something like that. I mean, you know, there's a lot of merchandise, you know, in recent years, last 10 years, of referencing the film in some form or fashion. And I mean, I know John Carpenter saw Piper at WrestleMania 3 and just saw something about him and set up a meeting with him just based on seeing him at least that's what he says, based on his last match with Adrian Adonis, or quote unquote last match with Adrian Adonis at WrestleMania 3. That's what got Piper like noticed by Carpenter and that. And I think it was good too. I mean, it's a testament that, you know what, in all seriousness to what Nathan said, I think you need a really good director to bring out. And even though with wrestlers, they are actors, they're supposed to cut promos in front of a live audience. I mean, the good ones, you know, aren't going by a script. You know, I think for the most part, it's safe to say that Rock cut his own stuff. The promos he cut, that's him talking. Hogan, the same thing, and Piper, Warrior, Macho Man, they're doing their own thing. They're giving, here's your town you're going to be in. Here's the who's your opponent. Go. So obviously they know how to present themselves. I think with Carpenter being such a phenomenal director, helped with Piper. And I think if Hogan, and I like No Holds Barred, I love Suburban Commando. That's about as far as it gets in terms of like Hogan's, you know, theatrical films.
No Mr. Nanny?
No Mr. Nanny, and no, you know, Three Ninjas, High Noon, and Make a Mountain, and all that.
About Thunder in Paradise?
Woo!
As a kid, I thought it was great. You know, and I love the opening song too, with like all those hot babes on that boat, and you know that I will say the opening theme for the Thunder in Paradise VHS, not the actual TV show, but the VHS intro was badass. But anyway, but I think that, you know, it's a testament to Carpenter to make Piper, and I told Piper that I said I had so much fun watching just all the scenes where you're watching him as this struggling drifter trying to find work and befriending Keith David. Like, to me, that I told him, I said, that could have been a movie. Just watching him trying to make ends meet in a very difficult world where jobs are drying up all over the place, and he's just trying to find work, and him and Keith David being buddies. Like, I could see that just being a good buddy drama directed by John Carpenter, because you're not asking too much from Piper in the film. Like the beginning of the film, he's doing a lot of observing, a little bit of talking, you know, or like when he's on the construction site. Hey, there's no sleeping here, so you park your ass somewhere else. Excuse me, but when do I get paid? You know, just simple stuff, but he could do that because you buy his persona in the film. And I think that's a great job, because when it's expected to get more out of Piper, you buy the character that he's doing, because you're given a lot of opportunity to really feel sorry for this guy. And that's a testament to the script and to Carpenter and to Piper. So I think if Hogan and Rock were given really good directors like Jesse Ventura and Predator, he's not the star, but boy, is Blaine a very memorable member of that movie. And I say that's to him and to John McTiernan. So I'd like to think, all right, I will give Rock a fair chance if he's working with a very qualified action director who can say, no, we're not here to be silly. We're here to get you over as a badass on screen, that you're going to be the real deal. And same thing with Hogan, you know.
I think Hogan's kind of...
Well, not now.
Fast. Yeah.
You know? Yeah, no, I don't want to see Hogan films now. But I'm just saying, like, that didn't help his film career. They that way. It's like they didn't have good directors to work with. But oddly enough, I did listen to an interview with Hogan on the Dan Le Batard show yesterday, where he was approached about having a role in Highlander, like the original Highlander, and he turned it down due to the content of what he was expected to do in the film, while he's still on top of the world as Hulkamania and telling kids to say the prayers and take the vitamins. You know,
also,
just kind of.
Yeah, he didn't want to be a heel, huh?
Yeah. But yeah, They Live is great. A film that I feel like is heavily overlooked, to piggyback off of what Joe said, is Vampires. And Vampires was the last film that actually made money for Carpenter. I saw it 3 times in theaters. I saw it opening weekend, I think Friday and Saturday maybe even Sunday.
And Tyler's the reason that I saw that the first time. He brought it over and shit. Was that still the time when I didn't actually have like a dedicated separate DVD player and we had to watch it like on my computer?
Yeah,
I know we watched Mallrats like that, but did we do that with vampires as well?
I think so. Yeah, because I think I would bring over. Well, me and Nathan became buddies. I just was bringing over movies that I knew he had never seen before, and Vampires was one of them. And before Nathan had a DVD player, he just had it on his computer, so we would watch a lot of these widescreen DVDs on his computer.
Yeah, and so just imagine like I want to say it was like a 15-inch monitor, you know, and like a big bulky ass thing, and like it's over in the corner. So it's like we have to either pull up the chair or like lay on or sit on the corner of the bed and it just like get close enough to it to where you can see it. But yeah, those were good times. And I think he was surprised too when the movie ended because for whatever reason he was always worried about, man, is he gonna like this? What if he hates it? And I was just when it ended, I was like, man, that was awesome, and you just see the relief on his face. It's like, oh, good.
Well, yeah, because I mean, when I show people movies that I've always been excited about. I'm hoping at some point, you know, there's a bit of a reaction throughout the film, or whereas Nathan, you know, was kind of like, you know, watching a movie with a Japanese audience, you know, where like no reaction is the best reaction is what I've heard. Like at least when like Jaws came out in '75, when a Japanese audience watched it, there was no reaction. And it turns out like, no, that's like the highest praise, you know, and that's what it was. Like I would always wait to hear Nathan's reaction. And for the most part, most of the movies I would show him, you know, he liked. Because sometimes he wouldn't really say much at all. I'm like, oh, this just leave much of an impression. And next thing you know, Nathan's out trying to buy Mallrats, you know, or something like that. But I think The Vampires was the first John Carpenter film me and Nathan ever watched together. And then from there on out, you know, I saw The Thing in high school for the first time, where my dad felt like, you know what, let's try watching that. And I fell in love with that movie the first time I saw it.
A lot of gross effects in that.
It was, and I did jump in the movie when the blood comes alive. When McCready's doing the blood test, I jumped when the blood would burst out of the petri dish. Yeah, and it was just astonishing. All this, and I had seen pictures of it in monster books as a kid, like different shots of like the Norris monster, the one where the chest bursts open and takes off Copper's hands, and then he's like spidering up and his head's like all like extended out. Yeah, I would see pictures of that and didn't know what the hell it was. So when I see it, I'm like, oh, okay. You know, when I was buying the movie Maniacs of both the Blair and the Norris monster.
I have those too. Yeah,
I've got the Norris monster over here on my shelf. The base came apart, so I don't have a great way of displaying it right now. But that left a human. And still to this day, I'd rank that my top 3 John Carpenter films is The Thing. Flat out.
I mean that would probably. I bounce back and forth between that and Halloween as like my favorite. I usually give the nod to The Thing, but I remember the first time I watched it was like late at night, and I had my DVD player hooked in to like my stereo system, so it was like this really cheap ass surround sound. But since it was so late, and you know my parents were down the hall, like I hooked in a pair of headphones and I watched it that way. So I'm sitting there, and then when that scene that Tyler's talking about came up, oh man, like I normally don't really jump during horror, but that house like this, it really caught me off guard because, you know, if you're looking at your traditional horror tropes, you wouldn't have expected that to happen when it happened, you know. You would think
that's what made it a good jump scare. It wasn't a loud noise; it was the blood coming alive and defending itself. You know, so that's what made it such a great scare. Just to come off as a cheap scare because you're so wrapped up in the intensity of McCready's like, I got you all tied up. I'm going to prove one of you guys is the Thing. And then when it goes down the line, it's sold so well because I mean when you find out that Windows is clear and Child's. Not Childs, Knowles, you know, and then you get to Gary and Childs, and Gary's like, this doesn't prove a thing, it's pure nonsense. Like you're just getting wrapped up in the tension these guys are going through, and so you completely forget that even if this is going to prove it, you don't know how it's going to work. That's what makes it so effective, and that it doesn't come off as just a loud bang or a cat screeching across just to make the the 15-year-old girl idea, like, oh God, scary, but a text, you know.
They should have never made that fucking prequel movie.
I still to this day have not seen it, and I don't want to see it.
You know, it's basically just almost just complete retread of the thing, and then you know it's like, oh, but it's a prequel, but they did the almost the exact same shit.
Yeah,
and then
that's why I felt like they didn't know how to sell it, because Nathan has seen it, my dad saw it, I talked to people I work with that have seen it, and still when you're telling me that it's a prequel of what happened in the Norwegian camp, I'm like, well, okay, well we already know how this ends, because everyone's supposed to die. We're not supposed to have any survivors in this, because if it's a prequel to that, we know how it ends. But then they're saying it's not, and then I'm told that there are survivors in it. I'm like, well, then what the hell is it? It ain't a prequel, because everyone's supposed to die. And then if it's a remake, then why are you calling it a prequel?
Yeah, it was bad.
Because, when I'm seeing references that they're copying a lot of the same deaths and kills and action scenes in the movie, I'm like, man, the hell with this movie. I don't care what they're doing. And I sure as I don't want to see a Thing movie done with CGI when Rob Bottin's perfected skills of 1981 are better than any kind of horse shit that they've done on computers even today. I mean, that's another reason, is that those gooey, gory effects, you know, they look real. They don't feel like it's done just to, oh man, just like, no, it looks real. This looks like you buy that when Norris is breaking it open and he's getting disgusted. You're like, you buy it because you don't know what the hell this thing is, that it's metamorphosizing all the time. And that's what makes it so much fun, is that you can just sit and think and think and think and think. And then when they make these lame ass prequels and other ideas, like the video game was awesome. I thought the video game for PlayStation 2 was like, oh, it was genius, you know, because it didn't feel like it took away from anything. It was just fun to play. But well, Joe, we talked enough about our thoughts. What are your thoughts on the Thing?
Yeah, well, before you talks about the Thing, have you've seen Vampires, right?
No.
Oh.
What?
Nope.
Ooh.
Nope. Never seen it. That's why we guys are talking.
Joe, man.
Never seen it.
Oh my God. Joe,
Well, go ahead and give your thoughts on the Thing, and then I kind of want to bounce back to Vampires, because that is a film that you know, is way overlooked and deserves more love.
Yes.
First, now Tyler, you said first you seen the Thing when you were in high school, correct?
Yeah, when I was in 11th grade.
Now, what about you, Nathan? When did you first see the Thing?
I want to say it was not too long after that. It may have been around that time, or it may have been like right when we graduated. So it wasn't much.
I saw it on VHS. I'll just put it that way. Like, I hadn't bought it on DVD. This was a rental from Blockbuster.
Because it was the first movie that made me throw up. I seen it.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. Because I mean, I was a kid when it first came out, and I've seen it. You know, when it came out on tape, and I didn't go to the theaters for it. There's some movies we went to theaters. It wasn't a theater movie, but the second it was available for rental, we rented that. And I was eating, and when it came to the parts where you were seeing, like you said, those practical effects, they look so real. It looked so realistic. It was so gross. I remember puking. So I didn't have much of a memory of watching it until then, years later, and then appreciating it more for what it is. But I always remembered it being the first movie that made me throw up, or actually the only one. I don't think I ever threw up before. And here's another little side note. I can't watch any horror movie, even now, to this day, and eat. I can't do it because I start getting freaked out. I've watched Friday the 13th, I don't know how many damn times, and I know this shit's fake as hell, obviously, what's in there. The second there's some horror stuff that comes out where it's killing, I got to put my food down and wait, then I go back to eating. But I think the Thing for that. I will thank that movie for making me puke and freaking out anytime there's horror. I can't watch it.
Now, anytime that you have gone back and watched it when those scenes would pop up and you remember when you puked, do you kind of like almost like
dry heave?
What, do you almost kind of like taste it in your mouth or something?
No. It's like I won't puke now, but I remember just throwing up. But it's like now I can watch it and be okay. But I just can't sit and eat anything during a horror movie, period. And it is all because of the Thing.
Do you remember what you were eating at the time when that happened?
I had cereal. I was eating cereal. I liked eating cereal like throughout the day. It was like an obsession of mine. I liked getting just Frosted Flakes and putting lots of sugar on the Frosted Flakes. I told you I was so damn.
You're like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
No, man, I used to do that too, and I would take sugar and put it on like Cheerios and shit like that too. Tyler can tell you, like, if he would come and spend the night over at my house, all night I would just like pretty much eat an entire box of cereal.
See,
Yeah, it was
see,
always
so you,
Cheerios. Yeah, while we're
so,
watching something, wrestling or late night horror movies, he's always got a bowl of Cheerios.
well,
11 o'clock at night.
well, that's awesome. But it's good to know that I wasn't the only person that did that kind of stuff because I
Well, I
always
will
being
say,
high stress.
I also did what Joe did. I don't like to eat watching anything other than like something that makes me laugh. Like I like to eat watching a sitcom or something like that, just because it adds to the aroma of eating. I did eat lasagna while watching House of a Thousand Corpses,
Oh God,
and
that would have been dumb.
oddly enough, like it didn't bother me because when I was watching, like, I can't believe I'm eating lasagna while I'm watching this film, and it didn't bother me. But that was the one and only time I sat and had a dinner or dinner in general in front of a horror movie. Like I have more fun eating while watching something funny, whether it's
Yeah.
Seinfeld, Frasier, King of Queens, whatever the case. When I watch a horror movie, I just
And you
want
watch
to
a
sit.
bunch of terrible shows while you eat.
Oh, the hell you say? Go watch Freaks and Geeks or something like that.
Freaks and Geeks is fine. Also, I'm going to throw this out here too. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is actually pretty good. Tyler's like, what? It's that Andy Samberg show.
I'm not watching any Andy Samberg show.
I'm not watching that. Give me my Frasier.
Well, Nathan, go to one of your John Carpenter movies now because we.
Well, I want to go back and give some love to vampires because that like James Woods in that film is fantastic, funny as hell.
Yeah, he is.
It's man, like, and that's the thing to like. Obviously, it's a vampire movie, but it's more about all the other characters, really, to me, than like what else is going on. That's all sort of circumstantial, but it's just James Woods' character, and it's Alec Baldwin in that one, right?
No.
Which Baldwin is it?
Daniel Baldwin.
There we go. God, they all look the same. It's
Alec Baldwin. Which would have been awesome to have Alec Baldwin teaming up with James Woods. I will give you that. Yeah.
See, now Tyler's just going to be like, you didn't even know what Baldwin was in Vampires,
hey,
you fuck.
It's easy to get all the Baldwins from Steven and Daniel and Alec and
they all look the same.
Dennis
That's
Gary
the problem. But anyway, like, their back and forth is fantastic. James Woods and the priest. I don't know who plays the priest, Tyler. What the fuck, man? Did you see that when he's just like, we're talking about that, he's just rattling off the character names and who did this? And Joe and I are just like, I don't know, man. I'm stupid.
Well, that's the whole point of this podcast. We're supposed to rise above just regular guys hanging out to talk about, yeah, I love that movie. Yeah, I thought it was great too. Yeah, that one with that actor. Yeah, I don't remember what the hell his name was. So on to the next one. No. We are supposed to rise above the content. We don't have, a big company or conglomerate backing us, but we're just supposed to make ourselves different based on the knowledge our listeners get on there, and they pass the word along because we're above all the rest. We're not just going to be all generic and like, yeah, we like movies because I bought this sweet shirt at Target that says I like Halloween on it with John Carpenter's Halloween on it. Like, yeah, that makes you a fan.
It's like those guys at that convention. Well, I met Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, and they couldn't tell you who they were.
Yeah, because they think they're such horror fans when they're just like, if you're going to go meet the people who played them, at least have the damn decency to know the damn name and what they did in their career, or at least why you're going to go. Don't just say, yeah, I met the guy that played Michael Myers, and I met the guy that played Leatherface. What he's saying is, I met the guy who played the third Leatherface, not Gunnar Hansen.
Not Gunnar Hansen, the Leatherface, the only Leatherface in my opinion. But yeah, I need to step my game up in regards to like actors' names. But man, those Baldwins, they all look the same and whatever. Anyway, just Joe, you need to watch that film. You really,
and especially because of Joe's arch enemy, Thomas Ian Griffith. Terry Silver from Karate Kid Part 3 plays Valak.
Oh, that dick's in there? Okay, I guess I will have to see
Yes, you prick. And John Carpenter, I listened to his commentary track a couple times for the film, and it's just awesome to hear like his thoughts, and you're like, look at Thomas Ian Griffith looking, very, very, very badass here. I mean, because he's presented as the vampire that started it all and everything. He's not Dracula, and he looks awesome in the film, and he's just, and obviously he's not invulnerable, but essentially he is the first vampire, the strongest of all the vampires. And it's just cool to hear the backstory of how vampirism got started in the film and what James Woods does. I mean, and it's based on a book too. Vampires is based on, I think, a book by the same title Except I think in the book, like vampires has like dollar signs at the end of like the word vampires as well. But it's an awesome movie. Um, it's got a great cast, great banter because James Woods steals the show in every scene. You got a great villain in Valak with Thomas Ian Griffith because he should have been given more great roles regardless of what Rotten Amato from Parts Unknown thinks because he's so starving hasn't even bothered to see the movie. What movie is that? I never heard of that movie.
That's a movie I might actually go and watch tonight because it has been a hot minute since I have revisited that, and it's I just remember.
We ought to just send Joe the trailer for it. Will you watch the trailer, or will that spoil it for you, Joe? Even though the movie's been out for 20 years.
No, I mean, I guess I could see the trailer for that. I mean, I don't know when I'd see the movie though. I don't know if that's available on YouTube or where the hell it'd be. I don't even know how and when I'd be able to see it.
You know what? I think what I need to do is just get together this big, huge care package of all these films that either Joe needs to see or doesn't
and then return it. Because he won't accept it, so Joe, just return it.
Return to sender. Like, there you go. Take that fucking
You know what? I just also noticed, and I'm hoping that the people that listen on Podbean more reason to watch the YouTube video. But we are all wearing blue, and this was it's not planned at all. But that's just kind of funny that like Joe's wearing the blue and black, I'm wearing the blue and black, and then Tyler's wearing the blue in his muscles.
Yeah. This isn't a bodysuit. But yes, Vampires it's a film I think, because I know Joe quite well, I think Vampires is a film that Joe would get a big kick out of. I don't see it as something that, because I don't know, when people recommend movies like, oh no, you gotta see it, it's so good, you feel like they oversell it so much. You're like, why the hell do you like this movie so much? Based on Joe's personality, I think Joe would genuinely like Vampires. I think he'd have a lot of fun with it. It's a great horror movie. It's a great movie to watch at Halloween. Hell, it's a great movie to watch in the summertime. Because it takes place at out in the West. You're like in New Mexico, I believe is where the film takes place, and it's just it's James Woods leading a pack of vampire hunters that are funded by the Catholic Church, and that's what they do. They travel around the world, and the Catholic Church funds multiple groups that hunt vampires in Europe and America and all over the place. They give them money for the equipment, to buy them booze and hookers to keep the hunters who are not necessarily doing it for religious purposes. They're just doing it for a job. So to keep them occupied while they're traveling around, they buy them out, alcohol and rent them hookers for them to use. Then they move on to the next town. Once they're done hunting in this area, they're looking for nests. They're looking for masters. And hear this legend of this one vampire that started it all, possibly. And then they give you a little backstory once Valak actually shows up. So it's really, really good, man.
And he just wrecks everything, too.
God, he kicks everyone's asses.
Yeah. Well, like, you take that idea for that film, and then you think about, like, From Dusk Till Dawn. Why are we not making movies like that anymore?
Yeah, these hard-edged vampire movies that people are just... I blame shitty movies like the Underworld films, and, of course, Twilight goes without saying, where vampire movies they're just jokes. They're not considered threatening mythological characters. They're just supposed to be these really lame-ass action characters or something that women just fall in love with because he's misunderstood and all this. They're not seen as threatening villains of film anymore, I mean, that goes for, I think, most of your traditional horror movie monsters. From vampires to werewolves to, hell, I'm sure if they remake Creature from the Black Lagoon, they'll have him as like this sympathetic, character that falls in love and she falls for him. She's like, no, you can't do it. He's having I'm having his baby.
Well, it's funny you bring that up because that's sort of a similar plotness to The Shape of Water in a way. Here's a woman that falls in love with a creature that looks very similar to the creature from Black Lagoon. But that was done with like, you're looking at the guy that directs it, so you're in good hands with something like that. But it's funny that you bring that up because there was that article that it turned out to be a lie because Rob Zombie came out and was just like, no, I never said that. But there was an article that came out. It's like, Rob Zombie is interested in remaking Creature. And I was just like, no. I do not want that. But he came out and he was like, I think it's a good idea for it to be remade. I'm not going to do it. And I was like, okay, because the best Rob Zombie is the Rob Zombie that's like doing his own idea and not taking something else and putting his vision to it.
Yeah. Because all he knows how to do is just to white trash it up, and that's really about all he's got.
And I mean, he ran into that problem with 31, but the one thing you can say about him is all of his movies like look good. Joe, you okay over there?
I'm waiting for Joe's like looking. I'm waiting for him to like look at his hand as if like, wow.
Sorry about that. Thought I heard something. What are you guys laughing about?
No, I was just over there talking, and this is what it looks like. I'm looking at the corner. I'm looking down at my screen, and you just see Joe, and he's like,
and you just frozen there. You just like looking around. Like I told Nathan, Joe's gonna start looking at his hand like, oh my god, man. I can see a multitude of colors. It's a carnival of colors in front of my face.
I thought I heard something there. I apologize for that. No, I'm sorry.
People getting into one of those They Live fist fights.
No, I just thought I heard something. That's why I was like, oh god, now I have to watch this later. I didn't realize what it looked like. Sorry about that.
Like the people probably think Joe pulls Michael Myers with that mask on, like he's always standing in the bushes, just staring at it across the street.
Oh, you know what? Now someone needs to Photoshop Joe's mask with on to where he's like standing out from the bushes. Someone get on that, please.
Or like when Michael's standing in the backyard amongst all the laundry and the clotheslines, just Joe, just standing there.
You know what?
That's what Joe does in his hometown. He's wandering around people's like houses and stuff, just staring. He doesn't harm anybody. He doesn't do anything. He just stands around staring at them. That's just Joe. Sometimes he gets loose and he just kind of wanders around.
Oh, Jesus.
John Carpenter could make a great horror movie with Joe Amato, but Joe's really misunderstood. He's
gonna come out of his. I think John Carpenter really hasn't done anything. We talked about that. Like his last theatrical film was Ghost from Mars, and then he did The Ward, which I think may have had a limited release and then got released on DVD. And I think he did that Masters of Horror.
Yeah, he did that too. Yeah,
he did an episode for those guys, and he's just been quiet ever since. So you got to think it's been like 17 years since he's done anything theatrically. So I'm assuming that he is pretty much done directing. I haven't read any.
How old is he? Isn't he close to 70 or in his 70s? I mean, he's getting up there.
I'd say so. The guy still puffs on cigarettes, man. He just shows no signs of losing strength and energy, man. But he's been like smoking for years.
He's eternal, like he's just like Lo Pan. He's eternal, like from Big Trouble Little China.
Yeah,
like
I like how you bring that back in.
Well, hey, you were saying that, but which always makes me think it's like that James Hong. It's like I look at him now, and every time I see him, all I think of is Lo Pan, because I'm like, does this guy age? He seems like he's just eternal, almost like Lo Pan is. I'm wondering if he has a green-eyed wife. It's just, I don't know if you guys have seen and recently looked at and seen James Hong.
Oh no, we have, because we met him.
Oh, isn't he? It's great. It's like, how the hell? But yeah, Big Trouble Little China. What another great movie. I mean, with Kurt Russell and Kim Cattrall. But Kim Cattrall, the thing is, I remember her first from Porky's, and I always had a thing, that's when you get your young little kid boners. And I was like, oh my God, because, you're like, oh,
Joe's wearing a mask.
Oh my God, she's naked. So I was hoping she'd be naked in this. But that was a good ass movie. I mean, with just lots of, again, cool special effects, of course, magic, mystical stuff. But who doesn't like fucking Big Trouble Little China? I can't picture anybody that hasn't watched that movie.
Well, I guess the audience in 1987 didn't like it because for it to be the bomb that it was.
Isn't that a shame too? It's because now it's like a cultural hit. I mean, people just love it, and like you said, Tyler, with other movies, people wearing the hell out of T-shirts and catchphrases, and Jack Burton.
And that's the thing about John Carpenter's stuff. Like all his original ideas have just been. They may not have worked in theaters, like The Thing was a bomb, Big Trouble in Little China was a bomb. I don't think Christine didn't do as well, but it did all right. And then Escape from New York, I think it did pretty good. I mean, it's not like his movies, other than Halloween, were like people were lined up around the block for his films. Like it's always been like his films find its bigger audience on video. They'll do like, well, I will say They Live was, I think, was #1 for 2 weeks. And then he just felt like it pissed off the wrong people, and then the film just kind of dropped off the face of the earth after that, like almost as if like the rich people of society, the higher ups of society, got wind of what this movie was saying, you know, with its satire and content of like kind of slamming the upper class society, and that's what he felt, But
I think that movie, like its content, I mean, it's still relevant today. Like,
I think it's relevant for all times, because you're always going to have that fight of the lower class and the upper class, and who's running the show, or like Keith David says, the golden rule: he who has the gold makes the rules. And I think that follows even today. But yeah, Big Trouble in Little China. It's I remember seeing that on, I think it was TBS or TNT, back when they used to act, like it seemed like that was being played all the time on
movies for guys who like movies.
Yeah, on one of those.
God,
yeah. And I remember sitting down on a weeknight to finally sit down and figure out, what is this Big Trouble in Little China about? I did the same thing with Breakfast Club, because they would just play the hell out of it. And I'm like, okay, I got to find out what this is about. And I was already familiar with Kurt Russell prior to this anyway. So when I sat down and watched it, I'm like, God, this was just, it was so different. Everything in the best possible way, with some likable characters, great action sequences, and just kick-ass special effects. I mean, it just, everything about it just screamed original and unique. And the music is great in it. There's so many.
The music is great in like all of his films.
Oh yeah, to be a director that's so good at scoring your own films.
Yeah,
and that sets you above even, Spielberg. So
and it's not like his stuff is overly complicated. He's gone through and is like, well, this is what I did, and it works. Like I like the fact that he's at least still making music now, because he came out with a couple of Lost Themes albums, and they're great. Like there's, I want to say it was Vortex was the name of the track. It was the first one that came out to sort of like promote it, and it just had like this montage of all his films. And I was just like,
music along with sound effects. I mean, you got to think
good.
because like Halloween, I've said that before, that story, that the music is what saved that movie. When he first showed Halloween to all the studios, they just weren't into it. They're like, I'm not feeling this movie at all. He went back then, 5 little, it's like a 5-tune score of how he did and whatever, how he created that, and then the scares when Mike would appear. And they said then they were sucked right in, but it was actually the music and those sound effects that saved Halloween from probably just disappearing and maybe not even getting made at one, or not getting accepted by studios. So that's just an interesting little thing. Nothing really big.
Oh, and it is, but simply because music plays such a big part, and I think that's it can make the silliest and most uninspiring movie that much better if you got a soundtrack that amps up the situation. I'm sure if Commando didn't have the best soundtrack that James Horner soundtrack that it does, it would be a good Arnold movie, but probably not as memorable, because the kick-ass James Horner music that plays throughout it. Same thing with Rambo, or any other great action film, and horror movies that that's especially a big part with, especially in terms of like with Jaws, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, and definitely the trendsetter Halloween, and that's just a testament to John Carpenter, because other than The Thing, which he didn't score, it just makes it that those. I mean, you could just sit and listen. That's what's so good about his scores, is you can sit and listen to the soundtrack for Big Trouble, Vampires, Big Trouble in Little China. They've all got such great, memorable score. Halloween has got such a memorable, scary ass score. Christine has got memorable music in it. It's just all that stuff that's something good, that if you can just sit and listen to the score and just makes you think about the movie, just how it excites you listening to like the opening music for Big Trouble in Little China. That Kurt Russell traveling, talking to everybody on the Pork Chop Express. That's the music like I could say, like me and Nathan traveling, like we got to put it on that score as we're traveling down the road and talking movies here. I
have a Pork Chop Express shirt, and like people look at it and they're like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "You don't know what this is from?" They're like, "Nope." And I'm like, "Well, that conversation."
You suck. Yeah.
It's what we said earlier. Like I said, it spawned off all these different T-shirts from sayings and anything from that movie. Hell, and Thunder and Lightning. It's like those were 2 cool, memorable characters as well. Especially like when Lightning is sitting there, using all his, electricity bam, and he causes it to collapse on himself. But nothing beats when Thunder got pissed after seeing Lopan dead, and he's getting bigger and bigger, explodes like, oh my god, is he gonna blow up? And bam, he blows up. It's like, you didn't expect it. I didn't expect that. I remember as a kid for the first time.
It was so out there and odd, like, because they used the image of his face like stretching out in a lot of emotional images. You're like, what the hell is that?
Right. It's like, I didn't know what was going on. I thought he was going to unleash some crazy ass wind or something nuts was going to happen, but it kept going and going, and boom, explodes. Like, wow, didn't see that coming. But
there's so many great set pieces in Big Trouble. Like once they go into Lopan's domain and they get deeper around, when you find like all the different prison cells and the interrogation chamber, and jumping down to the water and swimming through like the man tunnels or sewer tunnels, and you see all of these dead bodies in the water. Then they climb out, and then you got the wedding ceremony chambers with like the neon like skull and everything. I mean, there's just so many beautiful. And it's so cool how they use like when Egg Shin is using what clearly is the Ghostbusters firehouse set. It's just like, oh my god! And then they have a fire pole too. I'm like, no way, man! They get to slide out a fire pole down. Lopan is down there, and they're like, oh man, I want to go. I'll go first. I want to slide down the pole.
So many great like set pieces, and it also makes me just miss that creativity of like, here's all these people that had to put in all this effort and work to make this look this good. And as you guys were saying, that film is just so oddball, and it goes back to that point that I was making. I wish that more movies like that existed, between that and From Dusk Till Dawn, just like these weird like stories that veer off in their own little direction, and you don't know what the hell you're along for the ride. You just don't know what to expect.
Yeah, you think you're watching, like with Dustin Dawn, you're thinking I'm watching a heist movie that just completely without hesitation turns into a vampire film. In Big Trouble, you think you're watching this buddy movie where like there's this feud with these Asian, two Asian gangs and little China in I guess San Francisco or San Diego, and it just takes off into this mythological backstory like of magic or the blackest magic, Mr. Button, and just a comedy because Kurt Russell makes everything funny, but you still want him to kick ass because he's an ass kicker who can still be funny at the same time. Now, there's a hard balance to find. I mean, like, for Kurt Russell to be taken seriously as Jack Burton, but you still laugh when the Lopan's henchmen come out and he ducks down to grab his knife and he flips it off to the side because he's acting so fast and he has to go run and get his knife. And then when he comes back, everybody's all gotten their ass kicked. Like, that's just funny because that gag of him just throwing it so fast because it's a calamity, but he's a lovable calamity with the lipstick on his mouth.
Comedy done right in an action film.
It's not trying to like, hey, look, this is funny, isn't it? It's just it's a perfect blend, and that's a testament to John Carpenter and Kurt Russell too, because Kurt Russell's gold.
I've always liked their collaborations. I'm glad that they worked together as much as they did, and it's also great too because you were talking about his commentaries. I need to listen to more of them and go back and revisit them. But the ones with Kurt Russell and John Carpenter are a blast to watch because they you can clearly tell that they had a lot of fun making it, and they're having a lot of fun there sitting rewatching it together.
Yeah, I mean they come off as just genuine buddies who really loved and had the good fortune, because not a lot of actors and directors have the fortune of working together a lot simply because of scheduling and prior commitments and stuff. Whereas those guys, I mean, it's like, John really wanted to work with Kurt a lot and wrote parts in particular for him to play. And it's just always cool to see Carpenter go back to like a certain group of actors at times. Like certain actors will show up, like Harry Dean Stanton would show up in well, maybe it's just one film. Never mind. All right, but it was so cool. Like with Keith David showing up at least two of his films, you kind of felt like, because he wrote Childs with Keith David in mind, I believe, and no, wait, I take that back. No, he wrote Keith David's character in They Live with Keith David in mind, I believe. But anyway, it's just cool that a lot of times he would work with a lot of the same actors in smaller bit roles and things like that. I mean, there's been some movies, too, where I'm like, I've tried to watch a couple times, like Prince of Darkness. I've tried to watch a couple times. It looks like it could be really good. I have a hard time getting into it at times. In the Mouth of Madness was all right.
Yeah,
it's not grand.
I remember watching that, and it's I think towards the end I felt a little like I was ready for it to be over.
Yeah.
I want to say sort of frustrated, and maybe that's the point, because you're watching him delve into like going crazy, and maybe
Yeah.
that's. But Prince of Darkness was okay. I thought it was it was fine. It's those, and then you can when I think for me it's when you compare it to the rest of his body of work is when it really starts to stand out in regards to like, well, this maybe isn't as good as.
I mean, and I guess that's fine. I mean, I'm sure that all of his movies have got a fan base. I think it's safe to say that they may not be as popular. I'm sure there's fans that like Village of the Damned. I honestly have not seen Village of the Damned.
I seen it once. I just didn't like it because first I didn't like seeing Christopher Reeves in a movie that wasn't Superman. It just felt weird to me. And those goofy little white-headed kids or whatever, just I don't know. It wasn't memorable. I think I was thinking Children of the Corn type shit. And when I was a kid, I mean, when I was younger watching, I was like, I'm not into this movie. So I seen that once and it was forgettable. It might have been a good movie that people liked, but I didn't like Village of the Damned that much.
No, I think in most of the rankings, like online articles, those three movies that we just mentioned are usually the ones that are lower on the spectrum. One that is surprisingly higher on the list, and kind of deservedly so, because it is really good. And I don't know if either two of you have seen it, but Assault on Precinct 13 is actually like a really good, like gritty, dark film that I've watched the remake of that against my will, and that was fucking terrible. But the original's got like that because it came out in 74, I want to say. So you look at that time frame and those movies that were coming out around that time as well, like your Dirty Harrys and things like that, and it follows suit. It's just dark, and I like the story of like the criminals and the cops in this precinct got to work together to get out from these other guys that are trying to get in. It's just have either of you seen that?
Honestly, I never saw it to rent as a kid, and then when I came across it to buy on DVD, I could just never really talk myself into like just blind buying it for whatever reason. I was hesitant at times for blind buys, and I have to say I have not seen Assault on Precinct 13, oddly, but also I haven't seen Starman either, just because I'm not into friendly alien movies other than E.T.
That was okay. Starman was okay. I liked it. It was different. It wasn't again. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it was strange. And I think they had what was it Jeff what Bridges is it? Damn it! Now I'm feeling like Jeff. Okay.
Bridges.
Yeah, his like portrayal of this alien type character, that took over, the look of, after getting that hair or whatever from the one woman's dead husband to then look like him, and just in trying to be human and act human. It was, different. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie. It's worth a watch, but I never seen Assault on Precinct 13, the original. You're right. I seen the later one like you did, and that was, but the original, which I'm almost thinking 76. The only reason I want to say it's 1976 is because I thought that one of his first movies was in 74, and that was like Dark, something I never seen.
Dark Star.
Thank you, Dark Star. Yeah, I know that was, I think, 74, and I thought that a couple years later was Assault on Precinct.
Oh, yeah, you are correct. That was 76.
Oh, okay, yeah. But it was no, I never seen that. I just seen the the one that came out years later. But I know I remember The Fog. I like The Fog. That was kind of a creepy ass little movie, and the whole thing with the gold and them coming back for that, and the whole day with the cross and the church and shit. That was it was spooky. That's actually what made me not like fogs anytime we would get one, because it was rare. But when that temperature changed and you'd look out in the morning or at nighttime, there was a creepy ass fog. I immediately thought of that movie. Spooked me the hell out. So
and that's it makes me think of just how many movies John Carpenter just had remade. Like The Fog's been remade, Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween,
The Thing.
The Thing.
They want to remake Big Trouble. There was that
yeah, well, I'm article. Like, son of a bitch, The Rock. No, this cannot happen, because he'll just be like, I'm the Rock guy. Wink.
No, I don't want that remade. I don't want Big Trouble in Little China remade, and I don't want Christine remade. Just leave Christine alone. That's a classic.
Christine, and that took me a long time to sit down and watch it, because even though John Carpenter's name was attached to him, like a killer car, I'm like, I can't get behind it. So it was after, I think, the first Mad Monster me and Nathan went to, where they had the actual Christine car on display, and it would start honking abruptly, like you wouldn't be warned. It would just start honking at you, like as if it had a life of its own.
Love that Or
And the poster was on and they were playing the movie next to the car, and the original movie poster was on display. I'm like, you know what? I really should just give this movie a chance. And I think I can't remember if I rented it or just went ahead and just bought it. Because as I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Because sometimes I don't do the whole like Redbox stuff or
you need to start doing Redbox, because when I rented Death Wish, it's like $2.
But that's the thing. It's like I'm not. There's not a whole lot. If there's a new movie I'm interested in, I'll just take a chance to go to the theater. Whereas like there's a lot of older movies I have yet to see at times, and Redbox is not going to carry those because it's more about the newer stuff. And that's something that, with Christine, I just went on Amazon and bought it after Mad Monster. I'm like, you know what, this is a damn good movie. I love the score. I love the cast is great in it. And I bought it. I bought like the fact that this car is alive.
A killer car, yeah, because you think that the concept or the premise, like, that doesn't sound really.
Well, even John Carpenter says it when he was approached. I'm like, God, a killer car.
But it worked. It really did work. I mean, from the beginning when it was first made and killed that guy in the car, with that carbon monoxide, or crushed him. I think he crushed and carbon monoxide.
No, that's later on in the film. Yeah, when the guy drops the cigar butt in the car. Obviously, it locks him in, and then when they open the car, he falls out dead.
Yeah. So you assumed it was probably carbon monoxide or something that killed him, maybe when he got locked in.
Or like later, one mechanic that's working on, and the hood drops on his fingers and crushes his fingers.
Yeah, and you're right. I think it's that obnoxious guy, like you said, that's later gets in the car. I think he's the one gets crushed. But I loved when Arnie finally realized this car is alive and it's special and it's doing stuff, and it was destroyed, and he looked at it and said, "Show me." And how it repaired itself. I was like, that was cool. I love when it got, and again, starts, Parts of Revenge, when it got that one punk ass, like greaser, biker guy.
Buddy Repson.
Oh yeah, when Christine ran his ass over when it was on fire, I was like, oh my God.
I love the music during that scene when he's running on that open, empty highway, and the car's on fire like a car straight out of hell.
It still got him, boy. It was coming right at him and killed him. It's like, I love that part. But yeah, Christine, I hope that's a movie, that never gets remade. Just leave it alone. We don't need that to be modernized.
It'll happen.
Just like the car.
Are you kidding? They would remake it and try to make it all Fast and Furious, but with evil tones, man.
Please don't say that. If that happened, I'd be really.
God, they'd hire some trendy hot director that made like one flash of the pan movie. We're gonna hire him. It's gonna be Christine, except it's gonna be a tricked out sports car, and we're gonna get Vin Diesel to play.
They wouldn't get Vin Diesel.
Well, hey, Vin Diesel can only get work if he's stealing cars. Or he's around cars or something like that. So, but yeah, I don't want to mention that idiot anymore on this podcast. But
next week's episode, the Fast and the Furious films,
and that's when I get up and just flip over everything. I will show up just to flip over everything and storm out of here, Amato style.
There you go.
Yeah, but here we have yet to touch on what Nathan originally wanted to discuss, was the escape films.
Well, let him go ahead. Go ahead, Nathan.
Well, I mean, like, Escape from LA gets a lot of hate, and I don't understand why.
I'm like, I don't get that.
And when you ask people about it, the only thing that they mention is like, well, he's surfing at one point. I'm like, oh, okay, that's like, what, maybe 30, 45 seconds of the film? Like, come on. Like,
it sucks that they had to put that on the cover of the poster, though. I mean, maybe that's what makes some people think that.
Well, I mean, but it's not prominent on the poster, because I've got that poster.
I think it just, how it is. Some people, they get an impression, and they're like, man, he's there, like you said, and then they see it, they're like, but he's there doing it, and maybe they just don't give it a chance or a fair chance.
But that is if John Carpenter is going to come back, I want him to collaborate with Kurt Russell and do a third one. I know that, Kurt Russell's older, but I think that there's still more stories to tell with Snake Plissken as a character. But I know that Tyler prefers LA over New York. For me, I don't prefer one over the other. I can watch them both. Like, to me, I think they're films that I would sort of put it in the same vein as like Kill Bill Volume 1 and Kill Bill Volume 2. Like, I can just finish New York and like, all right, let's go ahead and just watch LA. But it's also just another one of those, here's this creative idea, and then, you have the charisma of Kurt Russell, and then the score behind everything makes it so much better. And then you're just like on this journey. You're following this character going through all these different scenarios. Like, he's got to wander around and try to find this. Oh, he runs into all these other people. Oh, shit's going down. Like I don't think Tyler likes Escape from New York that much.
No. I do like Escape from New York. I mean, haven't watched it nowhere near as many times as I have with L.A. And I think had I seen this, because as a kid I thought Escape from New York was a comedy, because I would see the VHS cover and it just looked silly to me, and like the title, I just thought, it just didn't know what to make of it. And then when Escape from LA came out in theaters, I remember seeing the teaser poster for it at one of the theaters and thought, oh, that looks cool. I don't know what it is, but it looks cool. And then when I came close to see it in theaters, and then when it came out on video, I rented it, and just me and my brother fell, like, so much so that before the movie was over, after watching him do the basketball shootout, I went outside and tried to time myself and shot basketball with the idea of, like, I got a shot clock. I can't miss a shot. I was just like, I guess
that's the other scene that people tend to bring up. I'm like, well, I mean,
compared to like the steel cage fight with Ox Baker, or not steel cage, but the wrestling match with Ox Baker with a bat with a nail in it in a garbage. I understand that. I really do. I can't argue that. But when I first saw it, 1997, that's the year I really fell in love with basketball big time. Not just I like playing it, but I'm like, I wanted to know more about basketball, ins and outs, collecting cards. So that scene was just like, it just spoke to me because I love basketball. And I would not argue with fans who prefer the first one. Like, when I watched the first one, I get why the fans like it. And as an adult, yes, it's a damn good film. But when I look at how awesome Kurt Russell looks as Snake in the black trench coat and the various cool weapons and the score, still done by John Carpenter, but with the addition of Shirley Walker, it's the same Escape from New York theme, but just cranked up and just sounds more badass than the Escape from New York theme. And yes, granted, it is essentially a retread of Escape from New York. There's no denying that, and I think there's a lot of things that New York got right the first time as opposed to L.A., but I just have a lot of fun watching Escape from LA, and just Kurt Russell looks like such a badass in the score. I cannot emphasize the score is so much better in LA than New York. It's redone and just improved upon. The score is very low key in terms of excitement, whereas when LA kicks in, it just cranked up a bit, and the opening credits just sounds awesome, and just everything about it, I just like so much more in terms of visually and the soundtrack. Even though Escape from New York, clearly, I think in terms of storytelling is a better film. I really do.
Yeah.
But the Snake Plissken character, I'm with Nathan. I think that a grizzled older Snake Plissken at older age, I think that could be. And they talked about doing Escape from Earth, I think is what it was called, is what the idea they were tossing around. They did
because at the end of LA, it leads you into, like, well, obviously they're setting it up towards something on a grander scale. And, like you said, they talked about it, and it hasn't happened. But I think now's the time, like, now
to bring back someone who was not politically correct, like Snake Plissken, where throughout both films, he's like, he doesn't give a shit about your war or give a fuck about your wife. I'm not sure, it's what people like to say about, or to quote him. That's what we need today. When everyone is so worried about being offended, no, blatantly throw out a guy who doesn't care about politics or your beliefs or what's important and what's not. He just cares about himself. That's what we need. We need someone who's hard ass, who's going to fight against the current status, the status quo of today, in a movie that takes place in the future, but take what we're dealing with today. Because in Escape from LA in New York, where they're talking like this, or this current future is, you can't have sex unless you're married. No red meat. You have to abide by certain religious beliefs and all these certain things that we're being told today. You can't do this and you can't say that because everyone gets offended by everything nowadays.
And he just doesn't give a shit.
Doesn't give a shit. So that's what we need. And John Carpenter, I would not want to do anything unless there's two guys. I don't want to see a Kurt Russell movie where he stars as Snake Plissken, but John Carpenter's not directing. And I don't want John Carpenter directing a movie without Kurt Russell. Like, otherwise, don't do it at all.
Yeah, and that's another thing that they've talked about remaking. I was like, no, just make a third film and bring both those guys back. Like, Kurt Russell still got it. You watch Hateful Eight, and he's still just as charismatic as he's ever been. And I'm like, he deserves to be in that role one more time. I want to say hello to Carlito Carp too. He says that he is new and he's in the chat, so welcome.
Well, welcome, bud. Hope you'll continue to view more episodes and check out our back catalog of rants and pissing on current movies and saying everything was better back in our day, kind of generic gripes. Which
back in my day,
back in my day, because we never seen that on YouTube.
Well, what was
else
that
out there doing that?
What was that thing that someone kind of called us that one time? It was like grumpy old men, but it had. What did they?
Somebody did say that, like a version of grumpy old. I can't remember. You're right. That was said in one of the episodes, comparing this to like grumpy old Beyond Grumpy. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but you're
I can't
right.
remember either.
No, when it comes to Escape from New York, I see. Just to let you know, I seen Creepshow before I seen Escape from New York, and you'd wonder, well, what the hell does that have to do with each other? Why are you bringing?
Yes, Joe. Why the hell are you bringing a Creepshow with Escape from New York?
Yeah, especially because I figured the first person that would have said that would have been Tyler, but Adrienne Barbeau, was in both of those, and I hated her ass in Creepshow as Wilma. She was just this. You wanted this bitch to die. And I just didn't like her. And of course, then later on, a couple years later, comes Back to School, and she's Vanessa, and she's a bitch in that too. But I didn't actually see Escape from New York until after I seen those two movies. And so I seen that, I immediately was like, I hate that fucking woman. And then the movie was like, that kind of post-apocalyptic stuff to where I was never a big fan of that as a kid because it scared me thinking, God, what if the world just starts looking like this? I actually used to get scared of any of those type of movies with these weird-looking futures. But no, Kurt Russell is this character. You're right. I mean, it's just fantastic. But the movie, I probably seen it twice in my life. It's bizarre, but I have not seen that a whole lot. Not that it's because it's a bad movie, but it's a shame that sometimes a character from other movies makes me not want to watch a certain movie.
I mean, that happens to Tyler all the time. There's plenty of people that pop up in other films. He's like, all right, I'm not watching it just because of that one person. I'm like, oh, come on, man, give it a shot. And he's like, nope, not going to do it.
And I just hated her. I did not. I've never liked Adrienne Barbeau, ever. I didn't like her in The Thing. I didn't like her in Swamp Thing. But especially just Creepshow did it. That's all. But go ahead, Tyler.
Well, no, I kind of felt similar. Like as a kid, I didn't think she was pretty at all.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, because I saw the Return of Swamp Thing first, which had
we talked about this yesterday on Capes and Commentaries. Go ahead and tell. I'll say too. Thanks again to Penny Dreadful for taking time out of her schedule to join us yesterday. That was a blast. But go ahead and tell the story again.
No, it's just with Joe saying that. Like I since grown to see that Adrienne Barbeau was a beautiful woman. But as a kid, I didn't think she was pretty at all. I just thought, oh, man, I just don't think she's and then for her to be the love interest in Swamp Thing, like, I go from Heather Locklear to this? Not to mention Swamp Thing looked like a walking asparagus in that movie. It was just lame. It was cheap. I hated that film. I still, to this day, have never been able to watch it in its entirety. I've seen the whole movie, but just sporadic parts and stuff.
Spencer Gift outfit, you might as well say. Bad outfits.
Whereas in Return of Swamp Thing, even though it's a suit, Swamp Thing looks like a big muscular badass taking all kinds of grimy looking creatures and things like that in that film, and tons of beautiful women in it. So that's what I thought. Swamp Thing just hangs out and gets beautiful hot chicks all the time and kicks everyone's ass. And then I see the first one, I'm like, man, this movie sucks.
That was painful.
But Adrienne Barbeau, I think I did sit, and it was either Back to School or Swamp Thing. That's were the first times I ever saw it. One of those two.
You ever see her in Creepshow? Because
I've seen Creepshow, and I wasn't impressed by Creepshow. Like the poster artwork for 1 and 2 look great. I love the idea of the film and the stories it tries to tell. To me, a lot of just fell flat for me. I
liked it. I was always a sucker for those kind of movies that did those 3-story arcs or things like
anthology movies and stuff. Which I like that. I like that too. But I mean, one of the ones that stick out the most is the one with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson. And I just felt like this is really cool to see Leslie Nielsen play this, pissed off husband that's going to kill both his wife and her lover by a slow death. But then they come back as like these sea zombies. And I thought this seems a little just out of place, and the whole I want cake stuff. I'm like, some of it just kind of seemed, where's the scary stuff?
Yeah, there are better anthology films out there.
Yeah, and I know it has a big fan base, so I'm not trying to say that for people who love the film, because there are certain movies that I don't like, but I get why people like them. In Creepshow, I get it. I get why people like it.
like I said, I mean, because there was, like you said, there's multiple stories in just the thing itself. But I mean, the crate one, which is the one that she was in, I wanted her to get eaten. I wanted her to get killed. Plus that crate that said like property of Norwich University or whatever it said on it. I remembered that years later when I watched Jason Go to Hell, and the part where they showed in the basement of the Voorhees house, you seen a crate. It was the same damn crate, I believe, that they did for Creepshow in the crate scene. So I thought that was cool. But I remember that guy that was like, petrified, and he had to be super clean and didn't want to see bugs, and the bugs. I remember that just because you'd always hate bugs as a kid if you thought there was roaches or some kind of water bugs, and I just remember that thing just creeped me out. No pun intended, but. Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it, but yeah, it was basically her from the crate, part of that movie that I was like, I just can't stand this woman. And when I seen her in Escape from New York, I said, oh God, I was like, I hate that fucking woman.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, this
but
is
she was pretty
weird,
hot in Escape from New York, though.
See that going back to that, I could have swore, Tyler. Maybe I'm just making it up, but I could have swore you're like, man, I don't really like Escape from New York that much.
Oh, I think when I was younger, I thought it was boring. I just
that's what it was, because it's when that re-release of the DVD came out, and I think your brother like bought it because it came with like that comic book and everything.
Yeah,
and we were there in Target, and you're just like, oh, it's kind of boring. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, well, but just because I just felt, which that's how I felt at the time. I have since changed my mind about that, but in terms of comparison between that and LA, I thought LA was a lot more upbeat. Action, it was exciting. The music was a hell of a lot better and more enthusiastic and got you pumped and excited. And whereas everything was just a lot more slower, a little bit more monotone. I just didn't appreciate like the set designs that Joe Alves did for the film, the simplicity of it. And that's what happens. You go back and revisit certain films, and you're like, okay, I get it now. I didn't. There's certain films that. Like, I loved Heat as a kid. You wouldn't think as a kid in 5th grade that I would watch Michael Mann's great crime drama. I thought it was great. Like, why would a kid that age love that movie? But I did. Whereas Escape from New York I thought was boring as hell. But I've since changed my mind about that.
It does happen, people. Tyler is capable of changing his mind.
Oh, it happened. I mean, we could do a whole episode on movies that I've changed my mind on. Where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I stand corrected. And you know what? You can't be a fan of movies if you're not willing to swallow your pride. Yes, I preached saying it's going to suck. It's going to be terrible. And I apologize.
And then there's also the reverse when he thought Daredevil was like one of the best movies ever. And then he comes around saying, all right, that sucked ass.
I mean, yeah, I was fat. That's why I thought that was so great. I was fat.
It was before he had his muscles.
Yeah. I just, plus I also thought the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire was like the greatest superhero movie of all time, too. And that comes to video and like Daredevil, I thought, what the hell was I thinking when I saw this movie in theaters? It's a piece of shit. Same thing with Daredevil. It was just, I don't, the excitement, you want to believe that it's great. Not that you really felt like I was talking myself into it, but just sometimes the hype, like Freddy versus Jason, same thing. We thought it was great in theaters. Like, oh my God, they did it. I can't believe it. And then like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Why were we so excited? Yeah.
And then you get it on.
And that's when Joe's like, okay, this podcast is over.
You get it on DVD and you're sitting there and you're just like, oh my God, when she says that line, the Destiny's Child chick was like faggot in a sweater. I'm like, oh God, that was like the best thing you could say. And
that was probably her idea. Like, no, it'd be great. Let me improvise here because I'm Destiny's Child.
The one thing too that I hate about her performance is every bit of dialogue. She's like, she's moving her head like this.
Yeah, she's flopping her hair around.
Yeah, she's like one of those predators.
We got to flop the hair around to show intensity and emotion. Hey, look. Joe's
but yeah, that movie sucks.
You guys done badmouthing Freddy versus Jason?
No, I can never stop.
Not have that blasphemy. You're gonna have to wrap this episode up now because I'm gonna have to eat before I get started going again in about an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, we probably will have to wrap this one up.
Yeah, you guys are doing Fans of Power a lot earlier today. Who are you guys talking with again?
James Etok. James Bustatoon Etok. That's right. Oh, it's gonna be a doozy. But I know I'm gonna need to eat, and I'm gonna have to fuel up. I'm gonna have to drink water and get my voice going
and go stare at neighbors in the backyard. And
let me just go stare and let me go on Facebook after I'm done.
Please do that. Someone will take Joe's face.
No, it has already been done. I've gotten confirmation in the chat that it is already done. So
Oh yeah. I'm gonna check Facebook after I'm done here too. But well, it's been great. It's been a great episode talking
yeah,
about
no,
John Carpenter movies. But
there's I feel like Tyler now. It's like we kind of went over everything, but yet there still feels like there's so much more that we could have discussed. But all right, anyone got any final thoughts on anything before we wrap it up?
none for me. I'm spent. I'm spent.
I think, in all honesty, John Carpenter is probably one of the top 3 directors we've ever known. I think just even and like with a lot of directors, either they're not doing anything or they're not making anything good. We still go back to what they had done when they were a young, hungry director, or I mean, the '80s, because that was a last great decade for, I think, films in general. The '90s had some good stuff, yes, but in terms of like the entire decade, I think the '80s will always be looked upon as like the last great full on decade, 10 straight years of good films. And the '90s had some good stuff, but Carpenter, along with Spielberg, and I'd probably have to kind of get it more narrowed down to like who would fill out that third spot in terms of like the most impressionable library of films.
Yeah,
Stuff that you just can't argue that he's got such a great back catalog of films that you got a bunch to choose from. John Carpenter's got a bunch to choose from that you can go back and revisit and never get tired of.
yeah.
A lot of, you know.
I would say if I had narrowed it down, he probably is my favorite director. He's come out with the most films that like I go back and rewatch. You know, you just sit and like there was one time in my collection I just put them all together on the shelf, and I was just like, this man has a very impressive body of work. Like all of these movies I like a lot, and you take into account that not only are they creative, but he's also directing, doing the music, and in some cases like he's behind the screenplay.
Yeah.
So he's just this full force. And you have to appreciate that once he did Ghost of Mars and then kind of later released The Ward, he's almost kind of realized, like, you know what? Like, I'm going to just step away. He's not continuing to just turn out garbage like a lot of directors tend to do. It seems like he sort of knew when to pull back. But I hope that he comes back. I would love to see that third Escape film and reteam with Kurt Russell at least one more time. You know?
Yeah, even if it wasn't another Escape film, I think just seeing him and Kurt team up one last time, I don't care what it is, a heist movie, a crazy suburban story where the neighbors are supposed killers, like he could do The Burbs with Kurt Russell, I'd go see it. I mean, I wouldn't care what it is.
I mean, a sequel to Big Trouble would be fantastic.
Yeah, and I remember there was a supposed, I think it's Big Trouble in Little Tokyo, I think, was like a supposed sequel idea, But I mean, you know what? The guy continues to make money off the movies that were made in the '80s and the '70s. I mean, you almost feel like the guy doesn't need to work anymore when he keeps getting checks for merchandise and re-releases of soundtracks and special editions of his films, being interviewed for his films over and over again. He doesn't need to do anything else. And yet, but maybe it's best that he leaves us wanting more. That even though he didn't go out with a bang with Ghosts of Mars, the simple fact that he is left on a high note and just doesn't do a whole lot in general, whereas a lot of directors, Oliver Stone just makes a lot of bad political movies and pieces of crap like Alexander. Spielberg just can't seem to recapture magic again with his films. Scorsese is probably the only director working today that makes consistently good films. Like, I mean, it may not be films that I always want to go to the theater and see, but they look like quality films that if I did see them, I probably would enjoy it. But Carpenter, top 3 director, arguably 1 or 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what he's going to do with that Halloween soundtrack.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go ahead and wrap. Yeah, yep. Joe, anything else?
I think he's
nothing for me. You can.
Oh yeah. Joe's just like he's got to get ready for the next show.
I got to eat because I'll probably pass out during the show. But go ahead.
All right. Well, I just want to say first of all, thanks for everyone that joined us in the chat today. We kind of had a few more viewers and what we it kind of like fluctuated like it usually does. But thanks everyone for joining us. If you're following us on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you're notified when we go live or, when new videos are posted. Check the description. We got the Podbean link so you can download the audio version. Podbean guys, hop on over and check out the YouTube channel so you can see how we're all color coordinated today.
Or YouTube viewers, check out Podbean. Take us on the road when you're at work or driving, We'll get you pumped and excited, make you want to watch John Carpenter movies when you get home,
Yeah, exactly. Like the Facebook page, it's in the description. Send us an email, beyondretro84@gmail.com, or leave comments below. let us know. What's your favorite John Carpenter movies? More suggestions of what you want us to talk about. We got on the video, the action hero one, someone left a comment that was like, hey guys, this was my favorite episode. And I'm like, that's really cool to hear. So any feedback, good or bad,
let us know we're doing a good job, for Christ's sake. We'd like to know that people, obviously, we just like to know that, what, you like what we're doing. If there's something missing, let us know. So, but we'll cut this off so Joe can go use the bathroom and eat his cheap McDonald's dinner and all that stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, good luck to you guys on that show.
Thank you.
It'll be fun, but it was fun today too. I'm just exhausted. Got to go eat, but yeah, see you guys next week.
All right, later.
See you next week.